The story continues, and each moment becomes more intense. What's about to happen could change everything. Are you ready to move forward? Ikaruga informs her squad that there is a mission to stop a criminal, where they must go undercover. So the girls prepare and go to a club, where they pose as workers while the protagonist works as a waiter. While there, one of the men tries to touch Uka's chest, and she goes crazy, attempting to hit him. However, the protagonist stops her and apologizes to the man. He then tells the girls that one of the men seems suspicious, so Uka sits next to him. Later, the man accidentally squeezes her butt, which makes her angry and she arrests him. However, the real criminal escapes, so the protagonist and the girls chase him down until they catch him. Back at the academy, they hand over the magical artifact the criminal had to Ikaruga, who says that she needs to test it to confirm its authenticity. However, Usagi and Mary stop her, saying it might be dangerous. After this, they start fighting over the ring, and it ends up in the protagonist's hand, who accidentally tests it. As a result, the ring activates and intoxicates the girls, causing them to lose control. First, Usagi jumps on the protagonist and begins licking him. He manages to push her off and tries to leave the room. However, Mary stops him and shows him her chest, which causes him to ask her to stop. Then, Uka climbs on top of him and starts licking his cheek. He avoids her and moves towards Ikaruga, thinking she isn't as drunk. However, she tries to kiss him, but the protagonist manages to dodge her. The next day, the squad goes to a beach where summer seems to last all year. So, they decide to investigate what is happening there. Upon arrival, the girls put on their bikinis while Ikaruga stays behind, resting, claiming that she hates summer. Later, they sit down to eat ice cream until the protagonist gets up to go to the bathroom. Seeing this, Lapis tries to accompany him, but the girls stop her, saying she can't go in. Just then, Uka sees an injured boy. The nurses tell them that he was attacked by a sea monster. After this, Lapis tells the girls that the beach must be possessed by a magical monster, which has the power to prolong summer. Upon hearing this, Uka confesses that she doesn't know how to swim, so Usagi takes charge of the team when she notices that the protagonist hasn't come out of the bathroom. Later, Lapis uses Usagi and Mary as bait to attract the monster. As a result, the monster approaches them and starts to squeeze them. Then, Lapis tries to use a fishing pole, but it doesn't work, so the monster begins to drown the girls until the protagonist shows up and puts on his armor. He then uses Lapis as a fishing pole and stops the monster. After this, Mary uses her magic to separate the water from the sand so the monster can't move. As a result, the protagonist drags the monster out of the beach to complete the mission. Sometime later, the protagonist visits his sister Kiseki in a sort of laboratory prison. While there, he tells her about his life at the academy. She responds that she is very happy to know he has made new friends. However, the protagonist states that no one can be happy while being locked up. With that, the visit ends. Later, Squad 35 has a mission, and Usagi stops a car with a gunshot. Consequently, the criminals jump on a motorcycle and try to escape. Uka chases them down and leads them to another route where they meet the protagonist, who stops them using his sword. Upon returning to the academy, Usagi looks at the list of teams and says that they will probably earn a lot of points for completing that mission. Consequently, Uka tells the protagonist to rest a bit since he has dark circles from not sleeping. Later, he meets QE, so he takes the opportunity to ask him about Yoshimitsu. However, QE ignores him and continues walking with the director. Later, both enter a laboratory where some scientists have Kiseki tied up. The director tells QE that Kiseki has immense power, which could destroy the whole world. For this reason, he and the scientists kill her repeatedly to eliminate that power. With that, Kiseki loses control thinking about the protagonist. So, Kurigane decides to stop her. Meanwhile, Uka and the others carry out a mission to stop a magician named Hurling. Upon seeing him, Mary tries to give him a tracking card, but he notices, so he starts shooting at them. However, she uses her magic to create a shield. After this, the bullets turn into giant plants and start attacking people. As a result, the girls take care of things while the protagonist chases the magician into an alley. There, Kiseki appears and kills the magician. Then, she faints in the protagonist's arms, who tries to distance the girls to take care of them. However, he ends up telling them that Kiseki is very dangerous and that she escaped from the prison to see him. On the other hand, the director realizes that Kurogane is still alive. So, he asks him to go capture Kiseki along with Kui. Meanwhile, the protagonist talks with Kiseki and then explains to the girls that his sister caused a lot of damage in their home. However, he explains that she does not wish to cause suffering, and that it's all the fault of the power controlling her body. With that, he decides to return her to prison, but before that, Uka tells him that he can spend one more hour with her. Later, the girls prepare everything for them to have a date. When it's over, Kiseki and the protagonist go to eat, and suddenly she asks him to kill her, saying that she is afraid of losing control and killing more people. However, the protagonist refuses, saying he can't do it. Meanwhile, a man informs a girl named Deluida that they have the mission to capture Kiseki. Meanwhile, the protagonist tries to take his sister to the Ferris wheel, but Kui stops them and activates his re-initiator to kill her. However, the protagonist stops him and avoids his shots, which cause great chaos in the middle of the city. Despite this, both continue fighting until Kurogane stops them and arrests Kiseki. Then, the protagonist gives her one last hug until she falls asleep. After that, the director explains that they have given her a sedative. He also says that they will take her to another place to treat her, as it's possible that Haunted will try to kidnap her. On the way, Deluida attacks a plane thinking that Kiseki is there. Upon seeing this, Kurogane realizes that they are being attacked. However, he decides to continue with the plan. Then, enemy robots stop them, so Kurogane and Kui decide to face them. Meanwhile, the protagonist remembers when his teacher told him that Kiseki was controlled by the 100 demons, who would bring her back to life whenever they killed her. Days later, Kiseki escaped from her cage and killed the teacher, who gave his sword to the protagonist to eliminate her. However, the protagonist couldn't do it, so Kiseki threw herself off a cliff to avoid hurting him. After the memory, the protagonist wakes up in the prison with Uka, who thanks him for taking care of her and accepting her into his team. Just then, the president of the student council appears and frees them. Upon leaving, they realize the girls are waiting to go protect Kiseki. Meanwhile, Kurogane and Kui finish off the remaining robots. Then, a man named Odori appears and introduces himself as one of the leaders of a group called Valhad. Upon seeing him, Kurogane orders Kui to continue while he faces Odori. On the other hand, the protagonist increases his speed to rescue his sister. As a result, Kui stops and approaches Kiseki to kill her. However, the protagonist arrives and tells him that Kiseki hasn't done anything wrong to him. After this, Kui states that he will kill her anyway, along with everyone else like her. He then starts shooting at the protagonist, who avoids his shots until he decides to attack him head-on. In this way, he shatters Kui's cannon until Uka completely stops him. As a result, Kui jumps into the river to escape. Next, the protagonist frees Kiseki to take her to the academy. After this, the 100 demons show the protagonist all the deaths they have caused. Just then, Haunted arrives and pierces the protagonist's body. Upon seeing this, Kiseki loses control and starts destroying the entire city, while the director and the president of the laboratory watch. Meanwhile, Uka shoots at Haunted to free the protagonist. However, he replies that he can't do that, so he attacks her physically until he manages to pierce her. After this, Uka decides to make a contract with her provisional re-initiator with the wish to protect her friends. As a result, he accepts and gives her his power. Then, Uka starts attacking Haunted, who also transforms to put up a good fight. Later, she uses a magical seal that pierces Haunted. She seizes the moment and frees the protagonist. Just then, the girls appear, and he joins them. On the way, Ikaruga explains that to stop Kiseki, they must eliminate the demons, as the only other option would be to kill her body, but only the protagonist can do that. With that, the demons stop them, so Uka transforms, stating that she won't let the protagonist lose his sister. Meanwhile, the protagonist punishes himself, stating that it's all his fault, as he couldn't stop his sister when it was necessary. After this, Lapis appears and tells him that there's still time, so she gives him all of her power and transforms him into a god hunter. Upon seeing this, the girls stop fighting and approach him. Then, he absorbs Uka's power and asks them all to flee. However, they beg him not to go fight, but he ignores them. Subsequently, the protagonist faces Haunted, who tries to stop him, while Kaseki is consumed by her inner desires. As a result, the protagonist uses his sword and cuts Haunted into pieces. Then, he enters the midst of the demons and manages to rescue Kaseki. By doing so, he eliminates all the demons, bringing everything back to normal. Finally, the girls appear and tell the protagonist that together, they will overcome the problems that come. And so, we've reached the end. But every story leaves something within us and makes us want more. If you enjoyed this journey, see you in the next adventure.